Konnichiwa. Good morning, everyone. I am Bram, and he is Gregory. We are from Hwa Chong Institution of Singapore. It gives us a great pleasure to present to you about our project, Lignin Contact Lenses. Before we begin, we would like to thank a few people who have made this possible for us. Firstly, we would like to thank Professor Hiroyuki Matsuzaka, Professor Hiroshi Nakazawa of Japan Science and Technology Agency, the Osaka Prefecture University, Osaka City University, as well as our mentors, Mr. Lim Junyang and Dr. Kai Tan. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Singapore, this is a photo of our skyline. Singapore is a very beautiful place, and we welcome you to visit one day. This is our school, Hwa Chong Institution, and this is the lab where we conducted our research. So to start off, this is an outline of our presentation today. Now I'll pass the time to Gregory.
So, this is our research objective. Essentially, what we want to do is to develop a material for contact lenses, which allows the circulation of oxygen around the eye, as well as contact lenses which are strong. So, why do we choose contact lenses as part of our project? Well, contact lenses is actually something that many people use. In the world today, about 128 million people use contact lenses. In Singapore alone, 1 in 10 people actually use contact lenses. Coupled with the growing prevalence of myopia, it reveals a very strong and yet growing demand for contact lenses. So why do people actually wear contact lenses? Well, some people wear contact lenses just to look good and professional. Maybe some people use contact lenses because it's more lightweight, it's more convenient, and it's not prone to fogging up as opposed to spectacles. Now that contact lenses also provide a 360-degree view, since contact lenses sit right on the surface of the eye. So allow me to tell you a bit about the background information of contact lenses. First, there's the glass contact lenses. Glass contact lenses were extremely heavy and did not allow the circulation of oxygen. Significant developments led to the development of hard contact lenses made from material polyMMA. However, this contact lens still did not allow oxygen to circulate about the eye. Even more recent developments led to the formation of soft contact lenses made from the material FEMA. These contact lenses solved the two salient points. However, this brought about a third issue, that it was easily broken. So, it is in this area where we begin our research. Our findings have turned out as a very interesting result. This is lignin. It can play a significant role in the course of our project. What is lignin anyway? So lignin is actually a plant biopolymer. It's the second most abundant after cellulose and adds to the strength and structure of plant cell walls. This is the structure of lignin. As you can see, the highly branched structure lends lignin strength in nature. Not only that, the hydroxyl groups found in lignin allows it to form hydrogen bonds with water, thus allowing oxygen permeability. Lignin also has many aromatic groups, which help to absorb UV light, thus potentially allowing a second layer of UV protection for the eye. So what do we intend to do with lignin? Well, we can add lignin to PMMA, which will allow hard contact lenses to allow oxygen to circulate about the eye. We also can add lignin to FEMA, which allows soft contact lenses to be much stronger and more durable. In addition, we also want to add this extra polymer called poly-DMA-EMA. DMA-EMA is often known for antibacterial properties. So by adding DMA-EMA to each of our polymers, we can potentially get an antibacterial contact lens, thus solving the issue of bacterial infection in contact lens wearers. Now I'll pass the time back to Bram for our research outline.
So now I'm going to talk about the research outline of our project. So the first phase of our project is the synthesis of our desired polymer, after which we'll move on to phase 2 of our project, where we analyze the polymer. And next, after we have synthesized the polymer and analyzed the polymer, we will then we will then conduct experiments to determine the possibility of its application in contact lenses. So for our research task bar, we have completed phase 1 and phase 2 for lignin, PDMA, PMMA polymer, and we are in the midst of doing the application studies of phase 3. So phase 1 of our project is the synthesis of our polymer. This will be done in 2 parts. The first part is the synthesis of the lignin macroinitiator as shown here. This will be done by an esterification reaction. The second part will be polymerizing DMA-EMA monomer, which has this structure here, as well as MMA monomer with this structure here, onto the lignin macroinitiator. This is done by an ATRP reaction, and it produces lignin, poly-DMA-EMA, poly-MMA. So what is ATRP, you may ask? ATRP stands for atom transfer radical polymerization. It is a controlled polymerization technique as it yields a consistent molecular weight and structure. It prevents unwanted termination reactions that stop the polymerization prematurely. And it also works for a wide variety of monomers. Now I'll be passing time back to Gregory.
So this is our synthesis. The first part essentially covers the addition of DIBB as seen in the structure on the screen. We also want to add all these reagents and stir it in the nitrogen atmosphere for 24 hours. The second part is the polymerization process. So what we want to do is to add the following reagents into reaction flasks and purge the nitrogen gas first. After that, CuBr will be added to kickstart the reaction, and this will be stirred for 24 hours in nitrogen. After which, we will work out polymer. First, we'll perform column chromatography to remove impurities. Second, rotary evaporation to remove excess solvent, followed by precipitation in hexane to obtain our polymer. And finally, we will dry and decant our polymer. We have synthesized 3 types of polymer so far, using different ratios of DMA-EMA to MMA ratios. Now I'll pass the time back to Brent for phases 2 and 3.
So having synthesized our desired polymer, we will then have to conduct analysis to find out more about the structure of our polymer, as well as its properties. So to determine the molecular structure of our polymer, we perform the FTIR, as well as the proton NMR. And to determine the physical properties of our polymer, we perform a differential scanning calorimetry, or DSC. So currently for phase 2, we have completed the synthesis and analysis of lignin PDMA-EMA, PMMA. However, we are still work in progress for lignin PDMA-EMA, PHEMA. This is the FTIR spectrum of lignin PDMA-EMA, PMMA. So in this spectrum, we can see the CO double bond, and as well as the CO single bond stretch due to the ester group of DMA, EMA, as well as MMA subunits in the polymer. This is the proton NMR spectrum of our polymer. The peaks are assigned as shown. So from the NMR spectrum, we can also determine the ratio of DMA, EMA to MMA by comparing peaks A and peaks B. In order to determine the glass transition temperature of our polymer, we perform the DSC. So what is the glass transition temperature? It is the temperature whereby our polymer transforms from a rigid crystal structure as shown here into a disordered glass structure as shown here. So the glass transition temperature basically measures indirectly the hardness or softness of our polymer. We have determined the glass transition temperature of our 3 different polymers with different DMA to MMA ratios. So as you can see, when the DMA, EMA to MMA ratio increases down this graph, down this table here, the glass transition temperature of our polymer decreases. So this tells us how we can control the hardness or softness of our polymer simply by varying the concentration of DMA, EMA, as well as MMA. So once we have synthesized both of our desired polymers, here. We will then conduct experiments to find out more about the possibility of contact lens applications. So we'll be performing the following studies to determine oxygen permeability, water absorbance, UV absorbance, rheology, as well as tensile strength in the future. In summary, we have synthesized lignin, PDMA, DMA, PMMA polymer, which may be used in contact lenses. And the hardness of this polymer can be varied by changing the DMA to MMA ratio. These are the references we've consulted in our project. And with that, we thank you very much for your time.
ありがとうございました。